Okay, now I'm going to show you how to transfer crickets from the larger containers to these smaller containers. When these get empty, or there's not enough crickets in there to feed them, then you have to take some crickets from the larger containers, that one there and then the one outside, and you have to transfer them into these containers. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're going to do large crickets first. So we're going to bring this outside. When you carry this, be careful not to drop it, because you can imagine the mess it's going to make. There's Zoe. Okay, so we're going to put this aside for now. We need a big cup. And I use this big cup, and this should have been outside, but it wasn't for some reason. This goes out of the way for now. You take this big guy, and there's the large crickets. You put these guys side by side. That's an empty plastic bin. You open this. Again, make sure there's no crickets under there. If they are, just tap them down. You have to tap it pretty hard. Set this aside. Now these guys will jump out and they will be gone. So if they get out, you have to try to catch them. So you transfer them by lifting this up carefully without disturbing them, because then they won't jump. Putting that down in here and then shaking them out like that. And so now you can see all the crickets in the plastic bin, right? But they're all over the place. Well, what you do is you take the plastic bin, hold it up into a corner, shake it a little bit, and then there they go, right? See how they're in that pile? You take your cup, keep these guys shook up a bit, because I know if you shake them up, they get confused and they don't jump in the right direction. But then you take that and you pour that into the cup. You got to be quick, and you got to use two hands. I don't think I can do it while holding the camera, because it's that takes a little bit more coordination in that. Maybe I can set this up temporarily to show you. Let's see if this works. Okay, so you take the bin, shake it, and then pour quickly. And then shake this a little bit as you pour it. So now we have all of them in here. See? So I don't need that many because the other thing is full still. So I'm going to pour some of these back, and we're only going to put a few in the other one. All right. So there's your guys in there. Now we're going to go transfer them to this. You might want to make sure the food and water's in here first, because it makes it easier to deal with than have all the crickets inside. So you pull these back a little bit. Don't pull them back too much, because the crickets that are inside the tubes will then jump out. You take this and you swirl it around right before you dump them. We're going to dump them in there like that, but you swirl it around because it disorients them and it makes it harder for them to jump out there. And then quickly pour. And that's it, and you're done. So now they're in there. Close the lid, pop that down, push these guys in, make sure they're in all the way. And most important, make sure you put this freaking lid on, because these guys will jump out. Okay? That's doing the large ones. I'm going to bring the large container back inside. Now for the small crickets. Small crickets are much the same way, but there's one thing that we have to do differently. Let's move this. So here's the small crickets. Okay. This container is a little difficult to open, but you got to pull both these up at the same time, and then. Okay, yeah, I guess I did it with one hand. That's brilliant. Sometimes there's crickets on the inside of the lid, but not as likely with the small guys. You take this whole thing and you put it inside there. and it'll fit sideways like that. You rotate that. You lift the cardboard off. Be careful because the crickets are on the cardboard. Tap it. Make sure there's no crickets on it. Get it out of the way. So here is where the crickets are. You lift it gently. Drop it in there. And shake it. Make sure all the crickets are off. If they're all off, then you can set that aside. And you got to keep doing this layer after layer. There's nothing on there. See, there's little crickets there. Lift it up carefully. Go over. Shake it. Tap it on the side. Whatever it takes to knock these guys off. Right? So then you look. There's no crickets on it. And then you keep doing that till you have enough crickets in here. Then you put these guys back. Like that. You can take this out. Make sure there's no crickets on the outside of the container, because they will stick to it. And then put the lid back on. Make sure you push down both ends. Now, I don't have very many in here because I have the containers full, but there's the same thing, right? You see how they, if I tilt this thing, how they'll accumulate there? And if you shake it a little bit, it makes them unstick and makes them disoriented, and then it's hard for them to jump in a defined direction. We're going to pour them into the cup, shake it, pour, and yeah, see there's one straggler right there. These guys will jump out too. If they jump, you got to catch them or just step on them, kill them, because we don't want them to propagate around here. Okay, so then transferring them to this. This one's not so important about pulling the tubes out because the tubes don't interfere that much with the little guys. Take your cup, swirl them. See how it kind of spins them around? That disorients them, and as soon as you're ready, you pour. And they won't jump out on you because they're all disoriented. And that's it. You close the lid and bring this guy back in. Make sure they have food, of course, as I said earlier. And that's how you refill these containers. Then you bring these guys back inside. Small crickets, large crickets. And that's that.